Hi everyone, I'm Grace Haynes and I work on oak wilt with University of Minnesota Extension. Oak wilt is a fatal fungal pathogen of oak trees that's in Minnesota. It's expensive and hard to manage and it affects all species of oaks. So how do we prevent it to begin with? New oak wilt infections can come from below ground transmission or above ground transmission. Below ground transmission is more common, but it can only spread from infected trees to their neighbors. So in this video, we're going to instead focus on above ground transmission, which is how oak wilt spreads further distances and starts new infection centers. If you don't already have oak wilt on your property, above ground transmission is what you need to be most concerned about. Within a year of dying from oak wilt, red oak species can form a collection of spores called a spore mat. There's a group of beetles called nitidulids that fly in the spring and early summer. These beetles are drawn to spore mats and also to fresh wounds on oak trees. So above ground transmission happens when these beetles visit a spore mat and then go visit a fresh wound on an oak tree, carrying the spores with them as they go. The best way to prevent new oak wilt infections is by not pruning your oak trees at the time that these beetles are flying. So a helpful phrase that you can remember is don't prune April, May, and June. Now, it's actually safest to also avoid pruning in July, so a more accurate but less catchy phrase you can remember is don't prune April, May, and June, and July. In addition to not trimming your oak trees, this also means not felling oaks and leaving the stumps. Even felling other trees near oaks can be risky because as they fall, they can create a wound on oak trees that could end up attracting these spore-carrying beetles. If a wound does occur on one of your oaks during the risky season, you can minimize the chance of above-ground transmission by quickly painting over the wound with pruning paint, water-based paint, or shellac. For more specific information about when these beetles are flying and when it's safe to prune your trees, you can visit University of Minnesota Extension's Oak Wilt page, which is linked in the caption.